Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today is Thursday, a third pillar Thursday of exploration, if you want to be specific. But we've been getting a little away from it because we have the show has been reduced to WTF, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. And welcome. Hey, TA, what's going on there? Welcome. Thank you all for being here. And you guys know, not only do I love tabletop role playing games, but I like to bring in a little pop culture or something that has interested me or something that is relevant. We just had a holiday, Labor Day to be specific, here in the States. And thank you very much there, TA. Thank you there, Thomas Anderson. Very difficult to catch the show live if you live here in the States. Uh, I get it. It's at the crack of dawn, unfortunately. But that means that we have all the time for us. Hey P. So for Labor Day, yesterday I talked about basically labor, using such a mundane thing that happens in the background in most of society, especially in our fantasy gaming, and using that as a point to draw ourselves into using our creative minds. But I thought we would go the opposite today. Laziness. Yeah, there. Out of all the motivations that people have in the world, laziness, not world domination, not evil machinations behind the in the background of the people of making power, the kingmakers sitting back there twirling their proverbial mustaches and rubbing their greased palms and whatnot and laughing maniacally at their own jokes. Sometimes people are just, well, lazy. And uh, I can guarantee all of you have been at least once in your life in a job or profession or club or group or whatever, where there are people who they're not just lazy, they've taken it to an art form. They actually work hard to be lazy. And I think there's actually space for using that as a motivation. Sure, would a lich or a dragon or an evil fiend fall into this category? Yeah, maybe not. But maybe they could. I try not to overthink these subjects too much, but um, there is. I think there's some power in that. Oh man, hey TA's like, normally I'm either asleep from late night or dealing with something that took too long, or already gone and working on my site. Oh, off grid, yeah. See, I'm in a strangely unique position, similarly, where as a letter carrier, I drive most of my day. It's kind of on and off. So not only can I not like look at my phone, I can't even respond because I've got both hands on the wheels and I'm in the public eye, so I can't just be, I can't be top headed and on my phone and stuff like that. So essentially, I'm off grid as well. Every once in a while, I can stop, take my 10-minute break, and go, oh, 38 messages I can't respond to. Cool, you know. Mm-mm-mm. TA's like, what about the sibling of lazy? Impatience? Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot can be said for proactive laziness. Now, there is passive aggressiveness where someone just doesn't want to do a thing because everybody else is doing it, which I think passive aggressiveness falls into it. There is also impatience where someone's just like does the foldy arm pouty thing. I want this thing and I want it now, and I'm just going to sit here till I get it. Right? I mean, there is a bit of that. There's also the whininess that goes along with sometimes laziness and what people want. Like, again with the oh, do we have to? Hey, do you want pizza? I don't know. Well, what do you really want? I don't know. I don't feel like pizza. Okay. Well, do you have any suggestions? No, I don't. There's that evil too. Yeah. TA is like, yep, like inventing the remote control so you don't have to get up off a couch or have to wait on the time to walk across the living room to change things. Oh, as a kid, see, I'm a man of a certain age where the youngest members of the family were tasked with the going to the TV to adjust the rabbit ears and change the channel from UHF to VHF. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Dead man's like list of lazy superheroes. Okay, okay. Number one, arms fall off boy. Okay, yeah. Oh. Rainbow girl. Hmm. Matter eater lad. Ah, what? Okay, the fact that that character is even a member of the Legion of Superheroes is just bizarre. I remember Keith. Is it Keith Giffen? Giffen series about Matter Eater Lad. It was hilarious. They have like calorie police or something. It's so dumb. Okay, Bouncing Boy. Bouncing Boy's humorous. Yeah, okay, a bit lazy. Like, just push me into the bad guys. um, Hindsight Lad. Never heard of a Hindsight Lad. Stone Boy. Stone Boy's completely hilarious. What can you do? I'm just sitting there as a stone statue. Can you do anything? Do you speak? An almighty dollar. Almighty dollar. It was. Isn't there? Wasn't that a character that got killed in The Watchmen in a background scene or something? Oh man, Pelora is like the art of doing just enough work to avoid trouble is an important pillar of society. As a matter of fact, okay, uh, I make the analogy of the carrot and the stick, right? Like some people are carrot people, and we all have like percentages of this, and some of us are stick people. And depending on what it is you want to do or don't want to do, sometimes it's the carrot or the stick. The carrot is like, hey, there's a goal I want to get to, and I'm going to go after that goal. And even though the goal keeps moving out of my reach, I, I'm going to be an idiot and keep chasing it, right? It's the there's a mountain. Why are you climbing it? Because it's there, right? And then there's the stick people. The stick people are like, I'm not doing anything unless I'm getting punished to have to move. It's the I'm going to sit in the bar and keep drinking until they shut the place down. Now I got to get up out my seat. It's the only reason I stopped speeding in a low, low speeding mile an hour kilometer zone is because I get caught by the cops, right? Oh, there's cops on the side of the road. I better slow down because I don't want to get the stick. Not proverbially, not the real stick. TA says, what is the other name of someone who shows up and tells people where they went wrong and then flies off doing nothing to help? What are those? Oh my God. Yes. Yes. That's another aspect of being lazy. Let me give you a perfect example. One of the great tactics that middle management lazy people do is respond with a question, but use it. You have to add on to it a tone of aggression, right? So, consultants, yeah. So, let me give you an example. You go up to your boss or director or manager or whatever, those consultants or whatever, and you say, "Hey, I've got a widget. How does this widget work?" And then you respond with, "Why are you asking me? You you're the professional. You should know how the widgets work. I mean, do I have to be here and like supervise you all the time? You need to get back to work." And you see how that's done, right? You answer the question with another question with a slight bit of aggression, and you get them to walk off. And it's like, well, I didn't really answer the question because I don't know. Oh, that was Dollar Bill in the Watchmen. Yeah, Watchmen character that was shot while caught in a revolving door was Dollar Bill. I thought it was Almighty Dollar. Almighty Dollar is God's oh wow. I'm gonna call them the modern day gods. All right. Okay. So there, Thomas Anderson says there's there is the aspect of being mentally lazy too, where you will do more work on something even though you could stop and think a bit to make it faster and less work, but the work of thinking. Yeah, there are. Yeah, how many I'll say blue collar factory workers look around and go, there's an easier way to do this, and their coworkers are like, whatever. I don't look. All I do is put the bolt in the hole and tighten it down. That's it. And kind of like, you're all right. Vamping always like the supervisor. Yeah. Mike says the dichotomy of the rogue, the most trained character played in the laziest manner ever. I can tell you that if I were that highly trained, it's because I'm ambitious. Oh yeah, you don't get hot. You don't get not only to have a skill, but so many skills being lazy and watching other people do things or whatever. Right. And so I think there is power in the laziness. I mean, how many dictators, in many ways, they work hard to not have to work any longer because they get other people to do it. I order you to do this, and you do that, and you do this for me, and and using social manipulation and manipulating people's hatred for each other to get them to bite at each other, so they don't go after the individual who's causing all of it, so they can sit back and I don't know, drink mai tais. I don't know what a mai tai is. Sit on the porch with their mint juleps. Yeah, lazy nobles. Yeah, Mike's like most nobles are portrayed in this manner, lazy. All they do is is wave handkerchiefs about and demand more wine, which kind of makes me wonder who trains the people to understand what the noble wants when they lazily wave their hands and handkerchiefs to get, you know what I mean? It's the I ring the bell and then a person runs in with the specific item or action or whatever. Like, is there a training montage for that? They never really do that. Unless it's like 18 people show up to try to figure out what they want exactly. I don't know. Ooh, D puts in a thing. Okay. TA says the more work, less thinking is a sort of Zen state. So it's lazy feeling because of the repetitive nature, turning it into a function of meditation. You're gotta admit, I gotta admit, I've slept walk through jobs before. um, how everybody raise their hand? How many times you've driven to a job, perform that job function, come back home and don't remember you doing it? Yeah, yeah, I've been there. All right, so Dead Man says Almighty Dollar's backstory. J. Pennington Pennypacker was an average certified public accountant until he attended the camp run amok self esteem camp. The camp was actually a front for a crazed scientist who had invented a device that gave anyone it was used on superpowers. After the device was used on Pennypacker, it apparently gave him the ability to throw money at his problems. Oh man, how much I would love to slip and fall on rubber banded bundles of rounded money that he throws at me. Throw money at the problem. I don't know. Bruce Wayne's kind of like that a little bit. A little bit. Oh man. Pelora says, you don't need to fight them. You just have to convince the pitchfork people that the torch people want to take their pitchforks. Yeah, yeah. And sit back and watch the chaos happen, right? There's a little bit of uh, chaosium to the plans of the lazy folk, right? Like if everyone is calm and looking around and they look at the individual who needs to be working, there's a little bit of a deviousness to keep people complicated and angry and hyper focused on the symptom of the problem, not the problem itself, and look around, and then that way the lazy person can go, I see whatever. I had my hands off of this whole project. I didn't touch this. It's not working because of that person over there or that group on that side. And everyone's like, "Yeah, you're right." And the pitchfork people stomp off to go after the torchbearers. The torchbearers are like, "We're gonna burn it down. We're gonna pitchfork them to death." And the lazy person's like, "Whatever. I don't care how many people died. You do yours. You do you. I'm gonna sit back and relax." Although now let's be honest. Sometimes the goal is to be lazy. Like some people work hard for a very long period of time to acquire their laziness. That in it of itself could be the goal. Then there's others who are like, I'm going to do the minimum amount of work to be lazy. That's where we're talking. We're not talking about like I'm going to retire and sit on the beach all day long. That's not what I mean. Although some could say that the retiree when the problem's still out there could be in that category where the person's like, yeah, I deserve this. Ta says, that whole watching versus doing seems like a shortcut to feeling like one accomplished something by living vicariously through another who has made a YouTube video of themselves doing said thing. Well, you know what? Yeah, I felt that way. Well, oh, there are people who like I'm going to call them the experiential YouTubers, right? Twitchers and YouTubers that like they climb mountains and deep sea dive, and they go to dangerous neighborhoods, and they ride bikes and skateboard with GoPros on their helmets and stuff. And I sit back and go, man, that looks amazing. Yawn. Where's my Pop Tart? Right? Yeah. I'm one of those every now and again. Yesterday. Oh man, TA goes on to say one person does something and millions of people can feel a sense of accomplishment from just watching their video. Yeah. Yeah. Hell, I feel accomplished when I see like videos of cute pets doing nothing as well. Mm-mm-mm. Hey, Jay Melton. Hey, what's going on there? Mike says it's work smarter, not harder within your scope of lazy, or is it shrewd? You could make the argument that there are individuals who fight you. The, when the smarter person came up with the aqueduct to get water from one place, a distant location, to get the water to the needed location for agriculture or for the population, and then sat back and put their feet up, the people who were trudging their whole lives can kind of feel a little bit offended by it, right? I mean, there is this idea of, I don't want to call it entitlement. It is the people who work hard to accomplish a goal can feel offended by the work smarter people who figured out a back end around the working hard concept. Like, for example, okay, I don't want to offend these people, but it's the only thing that's on the top of my mind is the trucking industry. I mean, the large, heavy, what it Plur calls them, HGV, heavy goods vehicles, what we call 18-wheelers here in the States and whatnot. I mean, that is a whole industry amongst itself. Yet there are people who are trying to figure out how to automate that entire network of trucks. So should we not use it to keep drivers driving 18 hours a day? I know they can't drive that long, but you get my point. Or does somebody come up with a smart idea? Now, the intention of that is to not have to pay people, but is that a great side effect for the people who have to pay those individuals? Sure. But maybe we don't want people going into coal mines any longer, or maybe we don't want people to run into burning buildings, or we don't want people by hand dismantling explosives. Maybe we should have machines do that, or maybe we should come up with a better idea to avoid those things. And yeah, there's conflict with being with the remove the work. All right, anyway, our co-host says, yeah, that sounds like the drawing like the drawing or cartoon of a light bulb being executed like it is a witch by a crowd of candles. A light. Oh, the image in my head. I love that. I love that so much. Mm-mm-mm. All right, so let's see. Hey, so Jason Melton says Larry Wall, the creator of the Perl programming language, talks about laziness as a virtue, the smart type of laziness where you do it absolutely right one time and then easily repeat, etc. Ooh, ooh. There's there is I think it's called Abbott Labs here in Central Ohio, where they study, of all things, how to repetitively perform a fast food function so that when you go to your fast food place to acquire your sandwich and your side item and your drink, to get it as smoothly, fastly, and consistently as possible. And it boils down to things like, do you zigzag or spiral the mustard? Do you put three pickles or two? Is it the slice of cheese first and then a tomato on your burger? There's a whole nine system to it. And yeah, and where to place those items in front of you. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Mm-mm-mm. Michael says, how many times have we seen in fiction the noble who, skilled socially, gets captured by violent brutes? Through social manipulation, said noble rises to power again from slave to ruler. Tyrion Lannister, anyone? Yeah. Yeah. Like, you know what? I'm just going to talk my way out of this. but, but is that really being lazy? It's hard to categorize that, right? Like, well, in our present day, think about social influencers, the Instagrammers and the Twitter filians and all the people in the social medias, the TikTokers and YouTube shorters that have careers doing what we might consider a minimal amount of effort, at least visually to us, to get maximum output. Now, behind the scenes, I don't know, do they take like 50 photos to put up one specific perfect Instagram photo and everyone's like, they look perfect, I don't know. I don't know. But I suppose you could throw that in there as well. We do have to turn this down around into tabletop gaming. So thank you guys for keeping me on point, because I think I get off cue a little bit, get a little squirrely. Ta goes on to say, yep, was going to say that greed is tied in here too. We're being greedy to grow far more food and less of their effort to feed more people. Yep, showing one aspect of use that can be good for being greedy. And I think I think sometimes we have a problem with the intelligent laziness because there can be a callousness to it. Like, on one hand, you can say, hey everyone, let's get together and figure out the best way to feed the most people, and let's study a way to get, like, say, a greater yield of crops, or maybe we can grow crops in a longer seasonal period, and everyone's like, yeah, that's a great idea, versus the other person who's like, God, I hate doing this. Can we just grow more food in a smaller space? I mean, do we have to do this all the time? Can't we do this just once? You know, and so I think there's a little bit of I think maybe we're judging an attitude. Oops, wait a minute. Sorry, I skipped something. There we go. Yeah, tractor trailers or semis, etc. But they are getting more and more complex too, with multiple joined trailers, yep, and tails that are independently steerable to get massive loads through tight intersections. I've seen some of those at work, where you've got like the double and triple trailers linked together and stuff. Yeah, yeah. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, almost seems. Yeah, he goes on to say, almost seems that going to such a complex state, it requires at least an AI assistance. Hey, listen, some people feel like when the whole AI, ubiquitous AIs, universal basic income, because I was going to talk about that, for Future Friday, that we could we could literally technologically place ourselves in a state of like the movie Wall-E, where everyone's like sitting in floating chairs, and it takes too much effort to press a button or lean over and suck something out of a straw. Maybe it might get there. Yeah. Seems one of these attributes, lazy, impatient, greedy, etc., is central with the others being facets of that core. Like a friend once replied, reply to be called mean. I am not mean. I am evil. Mean is just. Ooh, ooh. Oh, mean is just a facet of being evil. Though he said facet, so he faucet, so we turned it into mean being a turn on of evil. Oh, oh, like a faucet turning it on and off. You know what? Let me go back to the comment here, the initial one. Yeah, laziness, greediness, impatience, um, trying to get a result in the easiest way has a lot to do with that. I think some of your manipulative bad guys in tabletop gaming probably fit into a lot of these categories. You know, the hags, witches, liches kind of thing, doppelgangers, Rakshasa in the background, Oni, Ogre Magi, shape changers a lot of times. Hey, say a couple of words, get people to react a certain way. You get to steal something. Any creature that has some kind of hypnotic mind control illusory powers probably fit into that as well. Maybe maybe doppelgangers are just evil because they someone keeps disturbing them from their positions of power, and every time society changes they just roll their eyes like, oh my god, it's been 50 years, do they have to keep changing society? Vampiro is like, I'm sure pockets came about from someone being too lazy to carry stuff in like a bag. Pouches, stupid, can't we just put the pouch inside the pants? Oh man, that's hilarious. That is so hilarious. Hey, listen. Someone created the portable hole because they didn't feel like untying the bag of holding. Do we really need string around a bag? Can't we just have a black hole? Michael says, I see a sliding social scale here. What starts off with a society that has the few commanding, and the many, using truckers as an example, becomes automated trucks and drones, okay, turning what used to be low tier workers into no tier robots, which turns the worker into the drone, which then becomes the new slave class. Measure of Man comes to mind. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, I don't drive trucks. I just sit back watching screens to make sure the drones do it. Yep, yeah. While he's stuck in chairs or idiocracy. Yep. Hey, we don't even have words anymore. We just have pictures and glowing buttons. Look, go to the doctor's office. Uh, runny nose picture. Click. Other symptom. Yeah, yeah. Hey, listen. The You could claim that the too long didn't read part of our society is getting there too, right? Like I'm not even going to read the article. I'm just going to read the headline and agree with it, right? I don't know. Witches and Liches tonight on CBS. Bring. Yeah, right. Mm-mm-mm. Oh man. Mm-mm. I.e., the more you own that you cannot make yourself, the more beholden to those who can you become. Ooh, what a t-shirt proverb there. I'm liking that. The more you own that you cannot make yourself, the more beholden to those who can you become. You could also. I have a bit of a obsession with survival videos, like I used to watch the docu television series like Afraid and Naked, Man versus Wild, so on and so forth, right? But on YouTube, there's a bunch of people who go on there and they do things like they just turn a camera on and they'll build a hut or they will forge a knife out of by making a forge out of stone and clay and start a fire and all the little things like that, like survivalist things. And one remember the television show Preppers? The end of the world people who are like, hey, we have to, we can't not learn how to hunt and do things for ourselves. I could imagine a society that wants to hold on to the ability to survive on our own, and the rest of society over time looking at those individuals like they're crazy, and then society falls, and then the people who are the hard workers are looking at all the lazy people like, listen, I'm not going to help you. Yeah, dumbing down. Yeah, dumbing down the society's integral to autocracies. By the way, yeah, I mean, in some people still, I can't argue the point too much, but people would claim that we're doing that today, right? Like, I have zero idea how to kill a living animal and eat it. I mean, I could imagine it, and I suppose, given enough of an apocalyptic setting, I suppose I could learn. But I've never done it. I don't know how to pull feathers off of a chicken. I know there's something about twisting its head off or something, but I mean, would I want to? I'll be a vegetarian in an instant. But yeah, I mean, there's little things like that too. So I can imagine like, if you're talking fantasy, a society where you have healers and create food and water and stuff could make people quite lazy in a city state. And when the players come by and they're like, you guys know you're being corralled like sheep, and the people are like, hey, we're safe. I don't have to worry about crime and food, and someone's controlling the weather so it's never too hot or too cold, and there's enough housing for everyone, and I can just snap my fingers and suddenly, this plate summons whatever I want on it or something. Yep. um Kyler's like, human usefulness can be very situational. Yeah. How useful are you? All right. Thomas Anderson says, turning back to gaming, all of this means that we can do that awesome thing of getting away from black and white simple systems and into a more complex shades of gray where no one is 100% good or evil. I absolutely agree with you, because here's the thing. Someone, the lazy person who seems evil, could be hated, but what they're trying to do is solve a problem that's been part of society for forever, and solving that problem, the aqueduct, getting clean water from one location and getting it to another location, took someone to not work hard but work smart. And while it did benefit everyone on the outset, the original idea of doing it might have been like, what do you mean? We've got 30 people. We can walk up there with buckets and go get it. What's your point? Like, no, we can actually build this thing with a half pipe, and the water will flow downhill and it gets to other people here. And someone's like, well, we're going to have to not go after the way we do it to take resources away to do the thing you want us to do, which actually becomes much of a problem in our current society, right? We have mechanisms that we're used to doing, almost. It turns invisible because they're so common and so ubiquitous in our society. And when someone raises their hand and says, can we change this? Everyone else is looking around like, why? Like, this is how we've always done it. So it is pretty cool. Mike Gould says, have you seen Alone? It's Survivor for real survivors, but in brutal and cold environments. They who tap out wins last. I've seen I see there's episodes on Netflix. I might check that out. I saw it and it intrigued me, but I have a lot of those survival shows competing against each other. But I'm going to check it out now that you mentioned it. Thank you very much for putting it on my radar. So yes, I haven't seen it, but I've seen the thumbnail, and it of course it comes up in my feed because I get addicted to those kind of things. But yes, I I absolutely love it. I mean, it's crazy how much I love those shows. Mike Gould says, have never field dressed or butchered an animal. However, I can tell you that I'd learn damn quick if I were in the need. Lesson one: if it eats carrion, don't eat it. Yeah. See, I think that's me. I mean, given like Kylie said, you humans are usefulness can be very situational. I think our laziness can change based on the situation. I, I'm pretty sure if we were starving, we'd figure out a way to eat. If we've got any brilliance, like heck, one of the things I thought about in a if the world goes apocalyptic, is trying to find books on how to do things. And I know running to a library or something doesn't seem pretty smart when you want to get like weapons and things like that, but you need people to teach other people. So that might be a thing unto itself. Uh, AG says, "Hey, what's up, AG?" Says high fantasy can become an issue when there are no limits. Why are there hundreds of people breaking their backs working the fields? Isn't giant growth a level one spell? It could change society in society in total. Yeah, you know what? Let me leave that up here. That's It doesn't take us too long. Dungeons and Dragons being the most widely considered game, it doesn't take us too long to go like, giant growth, floating disc spell, of course, good berry, create food and water, purify food and water as well. Um, a lot of these abilities that a single player character has that goes, hey, I can do this thing. You start wondering, like, wait a minute. If you giant growth corn or chickens, or wheat, wouldn't that feed like 10 times as many people? Magical healing is another thing that like why go to medical school? Why train herbalists or have apothecaries when someone can just pray to the gods? Now, the I've heard the argument against this that the prototypical wizardry and clerical abilities require time to get there. Like, um, they aren't abilities that are granted instantly. That before the character gets the ability to do it, it might take many years to get to that point. And so, society, one person going to wizard school is fine, but 30 people need to work the crops because we can't wait 7 years for you to graduate from wizard school to be able to do the thing. Now, once they graduate from wizard school, I can see there being an issue. But so, and it also depends on the population, right? Like, can one wizard, how many people can he help? 30, 50, 5,000? What scope is. So I've heard an argument against it. Like, well, it depends on how many wizards, how many people have an intelligence of 15 or greater in the world. Mike says, well, Mike agrees with AG, which is, I'm trying to find a counter argument to it. It's a little weak, but anyway, it says, right, magical healing would completely upset a society. Who gets it and who doesn't? If you can bring someone back from the dead, then who gets to live forever? Yeah, especially if like a small infection kills people and you go, touch, I'm out. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like Pelora says, learning how to farm properly takes years of training as well. You know what? Okay. I would I suppose some would say, like, do you learn farming at like age 4 when you're out there in the fields with your parents, or do you learn wizardry at age 12 when you can comprehend what the hell's going on, right? And then if you learn magic and you get rid of the farmer, like there might be I could see farmers being kind of pissed off. Like, we broke our back for years, and I'm not going to eat magical food. That stuff is processed. TA says, I've shot a bird with a BB gun and was surprised at how effective it was and felt awful not doing it again, and have skinned roadkill for pelts and cured them, but never broke anything down to eat. Ooh. See, I've never done that. Never done that. Now I've seen whole pigs carved up. Never done it, and I even that made me feel like, I love meat, but I don't like where it comes from. But I do agree with you, P, that farming, learning how to farm properly, takes years of training. I wonder if I wonder if education and laziness are tied together, right? Not education, brilliance, meaning like the only way I can describe this is I wonder if stupid lazy people are different than brilliant lazy people, and how much of a difference there is. Like if you're not smart and you're lazy, maybe society kicks you around. Like you need to do something with yourself, or whatever, or they kick you into the crevices of society. Whereas if you're brilliant and lazy, your mind holds value, that despite the fact that other people may not like you, society tolerates you. I don't know. I think I think there's something in there. Excuse me, something in there as well, right? Like the wizard who's like, I'm not getting my hands dirty. I've got magic. Like, why should I? Why should I leave my wizard's tower, right? Why should I go adventuring when I've got you to do it? you know. And then one's like, why should I get my? And of course the warriors are like, why should I go out in the wild world and you stay home? Wizard, gets ready to summon fireball, and they're like, oh, that's right, yeah. That's why I should leave. Kylie says, ideally, the wonders of a high fantasy world are balanced by its horrors. A verdant area is sure to draw predators like owlbears or mauling jerks who want to ruin it. Yeah, yeah. There is the proverbial there is no peace, right? Like for example, a rival community. If okay, so let's go with the Goodberry healer montage, right? Player characters are like, "Hey, we're going to retire and make a kingdom where we use our magic to solve society's problems." Well, that might work for a short time, but all the hardworking areas around you might have a problem with that. If you're force multiplying your people, I could see there being sabotage. I mean, for example, even in our own society, groups our own social groups don't want to disband simply because you found a way to solve the problem. For example, when we finally have AI trucks driving down the roads, I guarantee you there's going to be rebellion from truck drivers who are going to band together to say we don't need this, and here's all the reasons why we don't need it, and they're going to show all the problems and issues with it, right? So I wonder if someone created, let's go D&D, artificial constructs that the humanity, the bleeding heart of warriors might get upset at mass produced constructs that go out to war. Not going, oh great, I don't have to carry my sword, I'm going to retire. Others are going to be like, we have 10 generations of warriors, I'm not going to stop fighting just because you have constructs on the battlefield, right? Mike Gould says, there's a reason I start my campaigns off as low magic. Everything has to be plausible. The whole reason I started the first Thol campaign in an empire that heavily regulated magic was to force the players to think more about what they do. I had hoped that they would make characters to either work around the problem or charm and deceive their way to sneaking in magic. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen, we sometimes we're a little too smart for the games we play in, because most role-playing games are player character specific. It is the player characters and their adventures. It's not about social constructs. It's a single player has the ability to do a thing. It's not really designed for, well, 1,000 people in this society affect 50,000 other people, but yeah. Yeah. And you guys talking to each other. Yeah, like Kylo Post says, like positions of power attract psychopaths who want to taste that sweet nectar of power, is a good way to mold up how an antagonist is forged and give the why behind their actions. You would would you guys consider hedge fund managers, Wall Street, the prototypical Wall Street boiler room style individuals? Would you consider them in this category, or are they the epitome of working? Are they an epitome of mentally and socially working their hardest to avoid the physical labor? Take meaning taking it to the extreme. I don't mean everybody's like that, but I'm saying like could one group consider somebody else lazy even though they themselves don't think they are? I don't know. Hmm. Michael says druids break healing even more than clerics. Goodberry is an excellent example. Uh, Z Beshu has a video on it. Yeah, I think Goodberry's more is more breaking than people give it credit for if you think about it. But yeah, magical foods and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Thomas Anderson says, the horrors of a high fantasy world could be what caused people to accept that magically grown food, since being in the field long days makes people prone to being picked up by dragons. Yeah, yeah. I think people would get over eating magical foods if they look over their shoulder and their friends and family are getting picked up by dragons and harpies and whatnot, and they go back and go, "I'll I'll have a slice of that fake food there. Thank you." Michaels as necromancers would be hated for more than any moral implications for raising the dead. Undead would replace workers and soldiers. They would break a local economy if played well. Y- yeah. I've heard of the undead farmer analogy. You know they never tire, they don't complain, they just keep on working. I think morally, like you do bring up the moral issue about necromancers and the undead. I mean, not too many people are going to want to have their grandparents and their dead kids working on your farms, but there's a way to we talked about a way to flip it on its head, though. There's a way to flip that on its head if you convince people enough. Jason Melton says there is a famous D&D setting, Tippyverse. Never heard of that. Where teleportation circles become the economic and most important technology, in an attempt to illustrate how magic would really affect things. Yeah. Teleportation circles, like I said, floating discs. Actually, most utility spells would dominate in a world to make people as lazy as they needed to be, right? I mean, why go hunting for food when you can summon it? Why have to have board meetings to convince people to do a thing if you've got mind control? Thank you there, Jason. Is like, if you like that sort of thing, well worth a look. Okay. All right, why the hell not? Mm-mm-mm. Mike says that low magic request. Yeah, I told the players to make characters knowing they're being watched. I think that's why maybe our discussion now has an undercurrent of why there's such a desire to have low magic settings. Since the inception of fifth edition, people have been beating the drum of please bring back Dark Sun, and Dark Sun is the epitome of your ass can't be lazy, right? Post-apocalyptic worlds, you got to hunt and carry. Resources are few, life is short. You've got to work for it. So I wonder. Hmm. TA's like going off. Mike says so. One made no joke. So one made no joke. A tiefling wild mage who was a former stripper. Subtle, very subtle. Are you serious? Oh, that could be fun. That. Oh man. TA says for a sci-fi game, one could look at the teleportation system of the Star Rigger trilogy by John um, DeChancy that uses giant cylinders of black hole material spinning at faster than light to create them. I never heard of that series. Star Rigger trilogy. Okay. Um, we even talked about like ways to limit certain technologies like teleportation and things like that. What kind of resources do you need to have it? How close and far away from star systems? How much energy does it cost to use them? All the so on and so forth, right? But there are ways that we as creators can limit those things and not make them instant. But listen, there's plenty of times where we've seen Star Trek episodes where we scratch our head like, wait a minute, don't they have teleporters? And don't they have like matter creation? Like, couldn't they just not have to do this thing because they have this other thing? Yeah. All right. Okay. You said the whole universe has a network of these roads and portals on the planets for jumping. So no space flight, but it forms a heck of a maze, and people get lost through portals that lead to alien mazes, never to return. Um, the Dan Simmons Hyperion and Endymion series uses a lot of that as well. The idea that there are localized portals. Some of the portals are even open. Like, for example, there's one called is it the Infinite River or Infinite River on 1,000 Worlds, where there's a waterway, and you can take a boat down the waterway, and you sail through a portal that takes you on a river to another planet, and then you sail down that river, and then it takes you on a portal to another planet. So it's like an infinite river that goes through various planets. And there are even people who have. There's a woman who's a very powerful um, corporate person. She does publishing and things like that, and her apartment has dimensional doors so that, like, she has a shower and a bathroom that exists on a whole nother planet on its own island, and then steps back into her own place and stuff. And it, it goes into some detail, but it's pretty interesting. Dan Simmons, Hyperion. I think it was written back in the 90s ish, whatnot. Um, okay, now here's something else too that let me see. Okay, TA goes on to say, because you probably really love this series too. I might take a look at that. Star Rigger. That whole story is really rich with ideas that can be used both in sci-fi and fantasy stuff, like the empty universe that is folded up into this impossibly black cube with no light escapes. 3-inch cube. Ooh, black holes and whatnot. I always wondered. Oh, okay. By nothing, I mean it does not even have laws of physics. Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, when we talk about fantasy gaming, like I said, most of it is very character focused, power and abilities and things like that. But when taken to a larger extreme, like, for example, I've always wondered who's making bags of holding and portable holes, right? Or spheres of annihilation. Like, it, it, you've got to be destroying the laws of physics on some level. And if you're making portals to other dimensions just to carry your crap, like, there's other people who have far better uses for that. What are they doing with it? You know what I mean? And so I wonder about that, like on a more social level. Like, I can imagine someone filling up a portable hole with like lava and then spilling it out on the battlefield or something. You know, of course, we have the whole arrow with the bag of holding on the front and the portable hole, folded around the shaft, and you fire it, and then the bag hits first, and then the arrow goes into the bag with the portable hole, and then it rips a hole. You get the whole thing. But yeah. TA's like, yeah, don't forget the discovery for the player or character of the universe crafted for them to entertain and catch them off guard. Ooh, would you say like a pocket universe? How can I carry a pocket universe? I've got pocket halflings and a spare gnome on my hip. Pocket. Let me pull out my pocket universe. Flip. Let's see, which planet? Number 8,562. Let's pull that planet out. Let's get my society. Okay, which year do I want to go to? Oh man, that'd be fun to have a character carries around pocket universe. They ignore it for a while. Suddenly, it starts growing a society of like little tiny people. Mm-mm-mm. Mike Gould says, well, the original concept of D&D was based on the fallen society where those wondrous items were made long ago by some powerful society. Humanity was basically on the rise with the secrets of magic slowly being rediscovered. As a matter of fact, what is it? A Numenera for completely embraces that it's Earth 9 million years in the future, and there's been nine societies, or maybe it's not 9 million, it's millions of years in the future, nine fallen empires, and you're walking around a world with those. Yeah, it's a pocket halfling, spare gnome, and pop-up universe book. Pop-up universe, flip the page. I love it. I love the imagery on that. Oh man. But yeah, I think while we probably would never name our big bad guy as being lazy, I think there's space for it. And listen, we've seen this as a plot for a lot of our TV shows and movies and books and things where a lieutenant of a bad guy is just lazy. And so an important mission needs to be done by the lieutenant, and the lieutenant, brushes it off and gives it to an underling. We've seen that as a point of contention in a lot of our serialized media, where you have a character. How many procedural shows have we seen? Doctors, lawyers, police officers, rescue. There's a couple more common ones. Anyway, where all the doctors are professional except for the one who's lazy and doesn't want to double check their work, or the legal team that you have the one lawyer that doesn't look deeper into the evidence, or you have the police officers, and you have the I'll call it the pit, where all the detectives hang out, and there's always that one detective that doesn't look deeper into all the evidence at the crime scene, and it causes a complication or whatever. So I think laziness is a perfectly acceptable reason to give to a trait to give to like a lieutenant of a bad guy, where the player characters, it's how the player characters discover the background evil, big bad evil guy. Like, uh, most immortals get to the point where they're not really going to be discovered on their own, right? The evil lich, the shape-shifted dragons, the fiends, they've been doing this far too long to have some lowly 8th level characters discover them ever. But the weak link, of course, is where those things can come about. So I could see a lieutenant. Now, for a bigger, higher level bad guy, I could see, I doubt we would ever call it lazy, but I mean, internally in our own selves, we go, you know what? That pit fiend probably wouldn't do this on their own. They'd probably make somebody else do it because it's just below them, right? And so, I think we do see it a lot. It may not be called slothful, but yeah. Now we've seen this physically represented. Jabba the Hutt, Harkonnen, whatever, the leader of Harkonnen, any person that is proverbially obese or floating in the chair, or what Mike said far earlier in the thing with the rich noble and the handkerchief and just leaning back like whatever, blah blah blah. We see that as a physical trait as well. So yeah, it's not really that far off. Anyway, Mike says whenever you see an evil second in command, yeah, with a lazy evil leader, the lazy evil leader dies. Yep. This death unlocks the downfall of the organization in some manner. We sure do. We do, because, or we could flip it where um because the evil leader is unconcerned about a problem, and their second in command, your 2IC, right? Your second in command taps him on the shoulder like, listen, I know you trust me, but we really need to take a look at the heroes because they're disrupting our operations. And then the lazy evil leader goes, nah, they're peons. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Yeah. We see that a lot. James Bond, we see that happening in like James Bond movies. We see that happening in a lot of criminal empires and things like you're mentioning, where the person's at the top of their game and they don't think they're touchable, but their second in command is always like paranoid, looking around like they're going to come after us at some point. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I just noticed in the background that one of my I didn't realize that. Sorry, I'm looking at myself and I can see myself in my background and I'm like, there's a huge gap right there. Shit, bam. My old DVD boxes that I've saved, my favorites. Yeah, I guess I collect physical media, whatever. Anyway, guys, we've come to the hour mark. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I I wanted to talk about this because unfortunately, real life takes has a lot of impact on what I do, and it's oh my god, it's like work and work and work constantly, and the hours are just long, and I don't see an end in sight, and it's very frustrating. And I already know with you guys are the same way. You know what I mean? And we even talked about this yesterday about like, yeah, people aren't returning to the classic job market because they're already making jobs on their side. And sometimes I think when it comes to being to to having ideas, we shouldn't overlook. Sometimes it's overlooking the mundane things that I think, no, you know what? There's still an idea there. Like TA says, thanks again for the discussion and idea evolving. Yeah, like I said, I try to come up with an idea and then I shut my brain off from thinking about it too deeply because I think there's energy there. I'm there it goes. Like keep breathing, DBJ. Your time will come. We appreciate all you do. Yeah, I'm starting to breathe right now. Listen, sometimes it feels like I'm juggling hot coals in my head because I'm still working on my cinematic environs. The sorry, the Kickstarter for Level Up 5e is coming out from ENWorld that I'm happy to promote because I'm part of the writing team. Small part of the writing team. I don't even know if technically it would be considered writing credit, but I got paid, so I got to give. I feel like I got paid pretty well for it too, so I got to give them credit for that. And of course, behind me, you can see, above me, you see the word clave, the creators conclave. I want to keep that going. I don't want to pester people, but I also want to encourage the reason for it existing in the first place. And maybe, just maybe, I might start to tap people that's part of that group to say, hey, here's a way we could work with something like maybe writing something that takes 10,000 words or even 50,000 words and getting everybody to write just a little bit, 100 words, 200 words, 500 words, and then putting that together. I mean, listen, 10 people at 500 words makes 5,000, a 5,000 word project, right? Out of the box encounters, I know, Mike, you did a ton of writing on that. But the point of it is, if you get enough people to do little small things, you could turn it into something big. And so that's kind of an idea with the conclave. Maybe do something free that where people can point to it to get an idea of what someone say publication style is or layout style is, and then from there spread out to the bigger world and whatnot. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I yes. I actually what I do is I listen. But yeah, Seth Srikowski's videos. Oh yeah. And then I'm with Critical Hit Publishing, and they Alex and Christian, Alex and Ian, they've been producing back to back great Call of Cthulhu. I think it's seventh edition Call of Cthulhu adventures, which I really don't even point out. So there's a lot of that. I mean, I do a lot of fifth edition writing on that side of it, but they're doing Call of Cthulhu, Highway of Blood, the Pipeline. They're coming out with the Circus of Madness and whatnot. I mean, Grindhouse stuff. It's pretty cool. So you take a look. Maybe one day I'll do a spotlight of it. Maybe one day. Thomas Anderson says he had a good one on creating secrets for adventures and such. Seth Sarkowski's videos are really good. He's pretty good and concise. Um, all things considered, that for someone who is not Dungeons and Dragons, it's got a lot of success. I like it. Yeah, me too. Yeah, Mike's like, I have lots to write. Once I fix the bugs in my clave links, it'll all work out. Yeah, I've got to get onto it. The website, I've got to get the website up. Um, Whatever. There's background things, but I gotta keep it going. Yeah, gotta keep it moving. One of the secrets was word deletion, like not using will, which gets more to the point and cuts down on word count and all that. Yes, yes. There's some secret hidden publication things out there. Well, first of all, okay, real quick. First of all, to be a producer of role playing content, you got to just do it. You can't do it. You got to just do it. You guys are so funny. Dead man's like sleep eternal, shiny and chrome. The lazy don't ride. Being lazy and then Road Warrior, like, wake me when we get there. Oh man, hilarious. Oh, you good one. Dead man's like, I got timing galore, man. Bam. Anyway, guys, have a great one. We'll talk about it all. We're definitely going to talk about Wally tomorrow, because about technology and universal basic income and laziness, and is that here's a little nugget for tomorrow, for Future Friday, and a philosophical thought. And I can guarantee you that today people are thinking about that today, even if they're not thinking about high tech future stuff. But if you take away the need, if you take away the absolute need to work, right, throughout society, every generation of society has had it better than the last society that's had to physically work harder to achieve a thing, right? So as we eliminate hardships in the world, are we intrinsically a lazy people culturally or biologically? Um, would we rather just sleep our days away? Or is work a needed thing to keep us evolving? Like, despite the fact that we could solve so many problems with society, is it a should we choose to keep problems in society for the struggle? Should we purposefully make scarcity a thing, even though we could eliminate scarcity? And I like the idea of thinking about that in the far future. Do we go Wall-E, or do we go post-apocalyptic and choose to live that way? Like, oh no, we've got nanotech that solves diseases, but we're going to let diseases run rampant because part of the population needs to struggle against it. Or we can be effectively immortal, but do we keep mortality in our society? Do we make that a choice? And then how do people look at other people that make those choices? Kind of different, you know. When you're immortal, that means the only way you die is by choice. Effectively, would we let people make that choice, or would we think you're immoral for even doing or thinking of such a thing? You know, it's kind of crazy. Dead man's like, yeah, ride eternal, sleepy, and chrome. All right, guys. I hope I spread my yawning to you. Oh, oh. I'm just joking. Anyway, guys, have a great one. I will see thee tomorrow.